Welcome back, everyone, to another fantastic episode of I'm Going to Talk and You're Going to Listen. This is episode I don't know, and I don't know what day or time it is, and it doesn't really matter. Stay till the end. I want to talk about possibly some new bunker codes news if you're into bunker codes. My newbie prepper book. If not, don't worry about it. I want to thank my engagement buddies. CU, CV, Cucumber Farmer. Responded to my 5RM post. Those UV 5RMs or AR 5RMs were on sale again for like $20 a piece. CUCB Farmer says those are good radios for the price. They have a Nagoya antenna, and they're talking about the Nagoya antennas doing GMRS very well with very good SWR, which is kind of like if you imagine something being attuned. And I responded that I forgot to cover that in my last several videos. The Nagoya antennas are really good. Just don't sign them in your vehicle door. I've been meaning to talk a lot about how kind of one of the main reasons for it being nice having a ham license and people not bugging you on the ham bands is that the SWR, kind of the attunement of antennas, the way magical radio mumbo jumbo works, they tend to be tuned for the ham bands, not the MERS and GMRS bands. You can do that, but that's not how they're bought out of the box. And so getting a Nagoya, it's going to naturally do the ham bands a little bit better. All the radios or antennas are basically tuned that way, somewhere between 144 and 148, since that's the ham bands. 156, where MERS isn't too far off, but just enough to where if you're reaching really, really far out, it might make a difference. But most people are never going to notice. Cocoa Beach Living, a new organic poster, said, well, Doge made its point. Massive fraud has been found. They can't hide it anymore. Okay. First of all, welcome. Second of all, everybody already knew there was massive fraud. It doesn't matter. It being found is completely irrelevant. They said they can't hide it anymore. They weren't trying to hide their fraud to begin with. It was like the worst kept secret on the planet. Nobody's gone to jail. They still haven't clawed any of the money back. No, I think by and large what Musk did has been useless, except he sowed a little bit of chaos at the beginning, which brought Orange Man a little bit of time. But I mean, they passed the budget anyway. Okay, so the rhinos completely squandered it because they are just feckless, spineless, and useless. They're so stupid that the left in the Senate actually voted with them. That is how feckless and stupid they are. So the only saving grace now is the reduction in forces that are coming. That might save some money. That might reduce the government a little bit, but the IRS hasn't gone anywhere. The ATF hasn't gone anywhere. The FCC hasn't deregulated anything. The EPA hasn't deregulated anything. ICE has only deported a handful of people. Honestly, not a lot's been done. There's a couple things that could still get done, but pretty much everything that has been promised, the ass has fallen out of it. Nothing has happened pro Second Amendment. Those district court judges were able to stop basically everything, and nothing's being done about that either. So no, I don't think Doge did anything except for provide a distraction that was immediately squandered. And on that note, Musk is on his way out. I've heard a couple of days thrown out there, but he did something like save roughly 1/10 of what he thought he was going to. And it's just, and he's still shit posting and doing his one word posting on his Twitter. So no, Musk can go fly a kite. And I think if the Doge Brigade wants to stay around, I think there is absolutely a place for that, but it needs to be ran by people who actually know the processes, and he did not. And so he's an idiot. So there you go. But thank you for responding. CDK Analog Radio, my #1 engagement buddy. Appreciate you. Pisces was talking about how their expensive starter soil killed all their tomato seeds. So we talked back and forth about seeds and sproutlings and stuff because I'm trying to do mine. And I'll say I had very, very little energy this year to work on seeds to make little sproutlings. It's insanely windy here, and I would have to be really, really, really careful to make a greenhouse. There's a good spot I can make one. It all just boils down to energy, time, and money, and so I didn't get nearly as much done as I wanted to, but I am at least trying. I've got tomato sproutlings going that I'm experimenting with, and I have cucumber sproutlings going, and I'm going to try to do some zucchini sproutlings. RCR says hi. Rip Curl, I hope you like these. And Jimmy says, congrats on my first hater. So thank you. And so that is part 1 of the episode. And so I'm going to pause for a second and try to think about what part 2 is. I do have a main topic, so hold on.
Found a bunker deep in the woods. Supply stacked high, it feels so good. Hiding out neath the leafy hood. Gonna help others try to get
through. Part 2 of this is going to be a segue to a future episode where I have been spending more and more time talking to Grok, which is Twitter's AI, because Twitter has become almost impossible to talk to people on, not because people are morons, which they are, but because most of what I respond to people now, either immediately I can watch it in real time go down into probably spam the second I hit it, or it disappears entirely. And so I've had a little luck kind of just posting questions myself and the algorithm sending it to people, but me talking to people in their own comments anymore is almost completely gone. So I have started talking to Grok the AI, and I've noticed a lot of other people have started talking to Grok the AI as well. And so segue to the main topic, which is carrying with around in the chamber, and then what the latest and greatest engagement bait is, which is people talking about the SIG P320's deciding on their own to self discharge. So the engagement bait is real. I've actually blocked several people. It's all and for the record, it's always been ultra popular to like shit on SIG. People didn't shit on 320s for a long time. They're actually an ultra popular carry duty pistol. Oh, SIG Sauer is a self defense, manufacturer that has several government contracts, and they've been bought out and sold and traded and stuff, and they're kind of a shell of their former company. But a lot of what they make still has some prestige associated with it. So SIG P320s, the military has a variant. Tons of cops carry them. Yada yada yada. They like them because they've got like this drop-in chassis that you can drop in whatever shell you want and essentially turn it into whatever you want, which is fucking rad in Minecraft. So if you're worried about carrying with a round in the chamber, it's totally understandable. A lot of people don't carry with a round in the chamber because they either don't want to have the responsibility or they just don't trust their firearm. And I think, in the big Venn diagram of the universe, I'm sure some of those people look at SIG P320 and go, well, that's scary, and it's really hard to find reliable info. The only YouTube I could find that's credible is this guy who I can't even remotely take seriously talk for like an hour and 20 minutes. I know, does it remind you of somebody? He talks for an hour and 20 minutes, and only probably a few minutes of it really cover the meat and potatoes. Did I save I didn't even save the video, so I couldn't even tell you who it was now. He's some clown in a mask. I don't. And then he starts talking about the 320, and then immediately starts using 365 as an example, which is another SIG, and it was insanely frustrating. But that was this is the video that everybody points to, this absolute chucklehead. But he had a couple of mechanical points that I think illustrate why it's important to understand mechanically how your pistol works if you're going to carry it with a round in the chamber, because knowing mechanically how your pistol works is going to give you a lot more confidence to carry around in the chamber. Because at the end of the day, I've kind of come to a conclusion that I wanted to share it with all of you. At the end of the day, and I'm going to share some numbers with you in a minute, but regardless, if you don't know if your pistol has needed a recall, if you don't know if your pistol's been serviced to the latest and greatest, mechanical upgrades, because manufacturers, just like vehicles, decide to update them sometimes, and everyone sends them back, yada yada yada. If you don't track all of that, and then on top of that, when someone says something wrong, that something is wrong with it, if they're not able to point to any evidence showing that these concerns or are pre or post fix, then erring on the side of caution makes sense, because it's completely impossible to say with absolute certainty that you're okay. And when you're carrying with a round in the chamber, that could injure yourself or somebody else. It makes sense to err on the side of caution. Despite the numbers I'm going to share with you, so going back to me and Grok talking. So I said, how many SIG P320s have actually been accused of self-discharging? It goes through all the numbers and it goes through all the lawsuits. And it's saying somewhere between 54 and 125. Going back to 2016, between civilians and law enforcement. The AI thinks it's higher and underreported, but it doesn't really know. But there are, new lawsuits. So it doesn't really know. But let's just say it's 100. Let's just choose in the middle and say it's 100. I asked it how many SIG P320s are in circulation. It estimates about 2.5 million. Now, again, going back to my previous point, though, you don't know like when those were made, if those were made pre or post fix, because there was some issues with the 320, and SIG said they fixed it all. And it's kind of like one of those trust me bro things, because to people's fair point, SIG has done a very bad job at damage control on this. And just like so many other companies, Nintendo, whenever a company does like a shit job at damage control, the engagement baiters, the algorithm grifters, just harp on it because it's cool and funny and haha, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, easy joke, low hanging fruit, easy algo, easy ad revenue. What they don't tell you is they actually have no idea. I've only seen maybe 10 cases mentioned, tops. A lot of the rest of them are just like really sketchy. It's like, was that his holster? Like, was his finger in there? They never tell you when they were manufactured. They almost never tell you if they were stock or had aftermarket parts. They never tell you how much they've been fired, serviced, maintained. They never tell you what kind of holster. And so, again, like that kind of like little bit of fear bites into you, where it's like, I don't really know. Is there a problem? Is there not a problem? Is there a problem? Is there not a problem? And you see all these big so-called influencers. I don't want to say their names. They absolutely disgust me. I shared some level of respect for some of them for like a long time, but they were SIG haters. Their channels are full of SIG haters. And me being a professional hater myself, also, I often root for the underdog, especially when I see everybody hating on something. Because if everybody hates on something, I just tend to do the opposite. Which means I'm not really a hater. It just means I'm maybe just a underdog contrarian or something. And so I've been looking into the SIG stuff for a long time. Not because it's like, oh no, save the multi-billion-dollar company. That's another meme they love to throw in there. But it's like, I think like a lot of other people really wanted to get to the bottom of this and see if it was a real problem. And it seems like it was a long time ago. But SIG did such a bad job at covering it up. Not covering it up. Covering it. Taking care of it. Well, they only did the recalls after, or they only did the upgrades and enhancements after. Well, that's normal for vehicles all the time, too. Nobody gives a shit. And vehicles always do, like, 10 people self-immolate in their vehicles before some vehicle manufacturer finally decides to... and someone even brought this up. It's a metric of how many people you buy off before like the recall financially makes sense. That's just reality. It's the reality with vehicles, and it's the reality with everything. SIG is basically just a brand. It's just a brand now. There's no real heart and soul left in it, and so they're just trying to preserve the brand. And what they said just really felt like a 320. So as the jokes go, so you understand that there's no way to reconcile it. There's no way to figure it out. Nobody knows the answers, and that is really suspicious. You'd think, and someone's like, "Oh, well, SIG makes people fly out to depositions." No, it's like, well, I want to see every single court case, and I want to see how much each of these was serviced. Like firearms, much like cars, I think, just like the 737 Maxes, and like when a jet malfunctions, they dig that thing inside and out to figure out what happened. They do the same thing with vehicles, but with firearms they don't, and I think that's so stupid. I think, I mean, I don't know if they're scared of it being used, against the Second Amendment, but if SIG was smart, they would publicly release every single piece of information they have on exactly every single time why this happened and what they're doing about it. And people said, well, they can't do that, they'd go broke. I mean, they're going to go broke anyway. And that's branches off into another topic called failure should be an option, and there should be a universe in which SIG fails because of this. And if they come out the other side, they'll be a million times stronger, but I don't think they will. I think this is just going to be, SIG is just going to be, in brand only, and they're going to be range toys, and everyone's going to stop buying them, and the military's eventually going to bleed them dry and then go to something else. Same thing with all their law enforcement contracts, and they're going to sell them to some third world country that can't do anything about it for pennies on the dollar. And then we'll have Milsurp M17s running around. Yay! So since you have no idea what's going wrong with these things, you have to just err on the side of caution. But don't let that influence your overall reasons to not carry it around in the chamber. But you should definitely understand mechanically how your firearm works, when it was manufactured, and if it has all the latest bells and whistles, and then don't do anything to it that can screw it up. So now I'm going to tell you the percentage of SIGs 320s that this is a problem with. And again, people used to make fun of the 365s also, and they fixed the 365s, and now those things are becoming standard, industry standard. So the percentage of SIG 320s that have had an issue is 0.004%. Everyone is losing their mind, and all these memes and all this engagement over 0.004%. That's it. And so, statistically speaking, what are the odds of you being 0.004%? And again, you don't even know how many of those were modern fixed 320s, or if they were all just old clunkers that had been fired a million times and never serviced, and the springs broke and the sear thing was smooth, blah 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 blah. Like you don't know, because they don't bother to tell anybody. They maybe know on like one or two, maybe three. So this is the beauty of Grok. I said, is that percentage roughly the equivalent of the other major defensive handgun manufacturers? So you could use this, for example, to like find a safer pistol, at least perceivably a safer pistol that you could carry around in the chamber with. So it goes over Glock, and it says comparison Glock. It does tons of stuff. It does says Glock has faced lawsuits over the years for unintended discharges attributed to holster issues, trigger snaps, or user negligence. So it says the comparison. It says Glock's percentage appears lower than the 320s. Glock's issues are less frequently tied to design flaws, with most incidents attributed to user error or holsters. And I would agree with that. Holsters are almost universally the problem. Smith & Wesson M&Ps. It says there's a few high-profile reports for the M&Ps also. Even though Smith & Wesson apparently was mocking 320. Apparently there are some lawsuits for them too, but no widespread pattern. So it's saying that the Smith & Wesson M&P is lower. The Beretta 92 is a very safe pistol. Very, very, very safe pistol. So it says within the margin of error, apparently, based on pure speculation, it'd be like 0.0005%. The XD, Springfield XD, has almost nothing. So it says like speculating within the margin of error would be like 0.001%. So that's lower. The Ruger, including apparently the LCP and the Security 9, Ruger has definitely faced recalls, but nothing major. So again, within the margin of error is like 0.0005%. So yeah. So those are. It's interesting that it called those out. So yeah, the M&P Shield is like a massively popular defensive weapon. The Beretta 92, which is pretty much ubiquitous with self-defense, Glock, and then the Springfield XD series and the Ruger. Yeah, I mean that pretty much covers it. So, if any of those sound good to you, I personally have experience with about half of these. So you may be asking me then, would I carry a 320 with a round in the chamber? Certainly not a 320 from the get-go, from the beginning, that's never been serviced. Who knows what the springs and everything are doing in there? Who knows how many times it's been shot? A modern one I would feel better about, but if I had to, if it was if I had to make a real decision, and they're like, you have to carry some kind of SIG with a round in the chamber. I think a lot of people are saying the 226s is what a lot of people would recommend, but they make a full size 365, and everybody seems to be very, very, very comfortable with the full size 365s because the chassis is just built better. So if you're out there looking and someone's panic selling their 320, now you know why. So I think there's a lot of other considerations to take into account if you're going to carry around in the chamber, and I think this is important. I think this is an important piece of it, but I think this is something that you should know anyway. If you're going, and that's how I started the conversation. If you're going to carry with around in the chamber, you should know this anyway. Don't let this dissuade you from carrying with around in the chamber in general. You know, learn how your firearm works. The other excuses I tend to hear is, I'd have time to rack my pistol. No, if somebody is on top of you, you don't have time to rack your pistol. If they're pinning one of your hands, you don't have time to rack your pistol. I'm just going to open carry and scare them away. I got bad news for you. Most people are not scared by someone open carrying anymore. They'll just grab it. Again, unless you have some kind of fancy holster. But then if you have some kind of fancy holster, then how do you know that them grabbing it's not going to set it off? What are some other ones? Some other excuses? You know, rocking the slide is going to scare them away. No. There's so many mechanical and physical and stress related things that can go wrong. What if you're sitting on the couch and your hand's asleep or something? How are you going to rack the slide? Are you going to rack it on your belt? Are you going to rack it on your boot? Are you going to rack it on the coffee table? Do you even have a belt that's stiff enough to be able to rack the slide on? What if someone stabs your other arm and you can't, rack the slide? So what if you rack the slide and it jams? What if you try to rack the slide and they grab the slide and lock the slide back? What if you rack the slide and you get a stovepipe type malfunction where the shell doesn't just kind of... Well, no, that would be if a round was already in the chamber. No, it'd be like a failure to feed. Yeah, what if your pistol just jams when you rack the slide? But people could also argue, well, what if your pistol is in your holster and it's already slightly out of battery? That could happen too. Someone could also just completely smack it out of your hand. So this is why you need to go to a defensive pistol class. That whole 20-second 20 foot rule is predicated on people not having a round in the chamber, people having, faster than like a 1.5 second, slower than a 1.5 second draw, because they're not practicing their draws. They don't have a round in the chamber. They don't know how to just step out of the way or roll out of the way or Sparta kick the person and then do what you've got to do. You have to train. Like, firearms are not a magic. They're not a magic wand. They never were. If there's some lunatic running around in the street naked throwing feces on everybody, it's still not your job to engage them. It's still your job to get out of there, but maintain situational awareness. But when you're in the city, it's not just one person ranting and raving and screaming anymore. It's two people ranting and raving and screaming. And what if you already had situational awareness? So you're already trying to get away from somebody, and you go down to the next block, and now there's two more people that are having a different mental breakdown. That's the reality in the city right now. Is someone's having a mental breakdown, and you go to the next block over, and somebody else is having a mental breakdown, and they go, "Well, just maintain situational awareness." It's like, dude, there's like 5 tents on every block. There's people having fits everywhere. There's meth heads running around everywhere. Maintain situational awareness and do what? Get out? Go on mass transit? They're going to be there too. Try to go to the parking garage where your vehicle's at. What if they're there too? What if they follow you to what if you maintain situational awareness and then they follow you to your vehicle? Well, call 911. The cop doesn't have to serve and protect you, even if they do come. You could get one cop that tries to help you, and that cop gets ran off, and then 2 more cops come, and those cops could be on the side of the bad guys. You don't think that happens? That shit happens. You could call the cops and you could get one cop, he could get ran off, and then you could end up with 3 dirty cops. Now, that shit is real life. So they could just shove you right back into the problem and just laugh and just leave you there to fucking die. There could be a shootout and they could all just hang back. They don't have to engage. Oregon is passing their first law now to where they can just sit back with drones. And huge chunks of Washington have that law now where they can just sit there with drones. Now, if they have overwhelming force, they might go try to fix the problem. But they've been so defunded, the likelihood of that is very low. You are your own first responder. You have to carry everywhere, whether it's permissible or not. You have to figure out a way to carry it where people don't know. You have to carry it on you everywhere. You have to do it responsibly, and you have to get training. Okay? But you have got to do what you have got to do to be able to defend yourself, to be ready. Obviously, there's rules if you're going to the airport. So don't do anything stupid. Airports are just a completely different problem. I would completely stay away from airports now. Period. Probably forever. But most places, they don't like to talk about it. Hospitals, a lot of those places have security. You can, if you really feel like it, they might say, no guns allowed. But people going to hospitals with guns all the time, they typically have trained officers, and you can unload and show clear, and they'll take it and lock it up for you. Same thing with, I believe, a lot of the courthouses, they just have little lockers and stuff. I've personally been to hospitals before where they have lockers, where they'll have security that'll check the pistol. And if you think about it, they have to, because if somebody comes in with a gunshot wound and they have a pistol on them, what are they supposed to do? And don't say call the cops, because most cops aren't trained with dick on guns. but they could have security people there that just deal with guns all day long and know how to safely clear and walk guns up. So you've got to pick and choose your battles. I'm not telling you to break the law. I'm telling you that we live in a world where you have to be responsible with radios, responsible with firearms, responsible with medical. It's the same thing if you start doing CPR. You know, if you decide to be a first responder, not if you are a doctor, not if you have the duty to provide medical aid, but if you're a citizen and you start rendering medical aid, you got to do your best until you hand it off. That could be a while. The cops could show up, not even want to render aid. You have to keep rendering aid. They don't have to either until an ambulance gets there. If you're doing CPR, they might tell you to just keep doing CPR until the ambulance gets there. These are the responsibilities that you have to take as a citizen of the United States of America, as a free citizen. I'm not telling you to go break any laws. I'm saying you have to be responsible and you have to do what you've got to do. Because going back to the point of all this is there has to be a world in which failure exists. And that means that you can't take the path of least resistance forever. Sooner or later, you will be challenged. You will be met with a choice. And that choice is going to be lose everything and be a bitch and have everything forcibly taken from you anyway and lose everything anyway and have the most horrible things happen that you can imagine to everyone and everything that you love and care about. Or you can at least try to fight. Try to have a chance. Try to do something. They want everybody so piss scared that they have convinced everybody to just give up and take it instead of fight and risk losing. You have to risk losing. They don't want us to risk losing. They want us to be so risk averse that we give up. They want us to just give up. They want things to seem too difficult and too complicated and too dangerous and too scary and too risky. You know, they want everything to seem like too much work. You know, they're going to ban heirloom seeds one of these days. There's going to be social credit scores one of these days. There's going to be another Rona. There's going to be more vax mandates. Like, they found the water level, you know. They know how far they can push people, and every time they're going to try to push people further. And you have to decide the difference between freedom and tyranny. And most importantly, you have to realize the tools that they use to manipulate everybody into being primed for tyranny, right? That's why they want everyone disarmed. And Bondi hasn't done shit for the Second Amendment. She hasn't. None of them have. So I think they went back and decided that SBRs were illegal again, or pistol braces or some stupid things. Like, how retarded can you get? And again, I go back to the boomers. They didn't want to lose their precious jobs. They didn't want to lose their precious boomer checks. Okay? They wanted to have their house and their picket fence and their family and their kids. They want to see their grandkids. I want to see my grandkids grow up. It's like, dude, there is no future. You gave up our Second Amendment and there is no future. I want to see my grandkids. Well, when they were all paying into Social Security, life expectancy wasn't what it ended up being. And me and someone else had to explain this to a bunch of people again the other day. I think it was yesterday. Social Security is going to be insolvent by 2035 based on everybody's life expectancy and based on how few people are having kids. The people employed right now are paying for everyone who is already retired. And they continue to draw Social Security and they continue to not go to sleep. And less and less of us are working, which means less and less of us are paying Social Security. In the perfect world, how they tell you it's supposed to act is you pay in a little bit and you somehow magically get 10 times the money back. That may have worked 50 years ago. That doesn't work now. Now it's going backwards because they borrowed against it so much, and so many people are just not working. And so guess what they were trying to do? Immigrants. So immigrants have been paying into illegals have been paying into Social Security this whole time. And so their big whole bellyache maneuver is, well, if you deport all the illegals, there's nobody to pay into Social Security anymore. Because the illegals apparently have been bringing in billions of dollars in Social Security. So all of the retired boomers are basically living off of illegals. Isn't that insane? I'm not even joking. I'm 100% serious. So, like, you can't deport the illegals. The boomers won't have their boomer checks anymore. And it's like, we have to live in a world where the possibility of failure exists. Boomers are going to have to lose their houses. Boomers are going to have to lose their boomer checks. Well, they saved their whole lives. They put money in. They put money into Social Security is not a wallet. It is not a bank fund. Just like unemployment isn't. Otherwise, I would still have my last house, and I would have been able to sell it, and this house would be paid off, and I would have shit tons of money. But unfortunately, unemployment is not a wallet, and Social Security is not a wallet. Yeah, I paid in. That money's mine. No. It's not yours. It's the government's. Okay? They decide how much of it you get to have a month. It's not yours. You need to understand that we live in a world where we are failing. The boomers failed. And now we are stuck here with a shit sandwich. And no matter what we do, it's going to seem too extreme, and we're going to get labeled everything on the planet. Okay? So Gen X doesn't do anything. We just sit here and wait, like, fuck you guys, then. Fuck you. The millennials don't want to do anything. Fucking boomers fucked us. The Gen X is just going to sit here and watch and laugh and want to be left alone, because that's what we do. Just like the song says, we're Generation X. We don't care about you. So what do? Stop paying into Social Security. Fuck those people. Taxes? Fuck that. Taxation's theft. Right? Go into digital currencies and just, like, fuck everybody. Because We didn't want this system. We didn't ask for the system. This isn't our system. We want to be left alone. Boomers, they wanted to sit there and have other people raise their fucking kids. Other people save retirement for them. Other people go figure out legally what to do. And they just jerked off their whole fucking life, is what they did. And it has come time to lose. We are all going to lose. And you all need to get through that through your fucking heads. That this is losing time. And you need to get ready for the shit to hit the fan. And that means, making sure you have, a modern defensive firearm with, a standard sized magazine and defensive ammo before they ban it all. Because they're passing so many bills here in the Pacific Northwest, it's going to be banned soon. They're one set of bills away. They're talking about you need some fucking training and some more fucking waiting period bullshit, and they keep trying to ban getting ammo delivered. It's just like they are setting us up for full-blown tyranny to throw us in camps, because the second they disarm us, we're all going to fucking camps. Okay? They're going to take your kids. They're going to take your dog. They're going to do everything. Okay? They say they're going to do this shit. They're going to fucking do it. And they're billion. The government's here are billions in debt because they've squandered it all. Portland is changing their homeless staffing agencies to like Urban Alchemy, which is like the biggest failure money laundering scheme bullshit that there is. It's just this is very quickly getting flushed down the toilet, and Human's like, "Oh, we're gonna finally start arresting of people that are getting in that are blocking us, deporting the illegals." Just fucking do it. Stop talking about it and just do it. Like, everyone is just so risk averse that like nothing happens because nobody wants to rock the boat. And so what happens? Everything just gets slowly eroded. They make people too scared to even talk. They make you too scared to get a modern defensive tool. They make you too scared to get defensive ammo. They make you too scared to get a full-size magazine, and then they make it too scared for this manufacturer or that manufacturer, too scared for this holster, and then they make you too scared to carry around in the chamber. And they make you too scared to carry anywhere. Like, they want everyone disarmed and fucking petrified. Meanwhile, your taxes just get flushed down the toilet over and over again. So again, I've said this a million times. I'm not saying to do anything crazy. I'm saying keep a level head, a defensive mindset, be kind to everyone, be prepared and be aware, and realize that some decisions are just going to have to get made in your life. You're going to have to decide. There's going to be really tough decisions. Do you let your family get hauled off and don't think you're going to fight for it in court because you're probably never going to see them again? They're probably going to disappear your kid, and who knows what's going to happen to them, and you're going to be a big bitch. Because, well, their daddy doesn't do any good if their daddy's in jail. Motherfucker, you're not ever going to see your kid again. You don't know where the fuck your kid's going. So, people need to wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up and see what's coming. Okay, so with all that out of the way, if anyone's still here, this isn't like one of those, the world's coming to an end and buy my book. kind of my bunker codes story, my bunker codes news is that I've decided that Bunker Codes is a good book. It fills a good niche, and it's the name that's the issue. I think the cover of Bunker Codes is iconic. I think it's great, and I think that the name just needs to be updated. So I'll be updating the name of Bunker Codes soon with the help of Jim to help me with the title, book cover thing. Since she's the artist, and part of the reason why it's screwed up is my fault. And so I need her help to help me fix it. So if Amazon doesn't help me move the title over, it's kind of hit and miss on if they will or not, based on what I've read. I might ask everybody to go and throw the revision a review. It would help me out a lot. I think a lot of you by now have read Bunker Codes, so I don't think this is asking for anything scammy. So I think it's going to be called Bunker. Let's see. Boop-a-doo. It's going to be called Bunker Basics, a Prepper's First Steps. I'm not really sure about a Prepper's First Steps yet. It might just be like, I don't know. But it needs to, I've talked to several people about this now. The Twitter algorithm finally decided to help me. And they said Bunker Codes sounded way too much like someone's search for the codes of how to get into a bunker. That was not the intention. I think Bunker Codes is an awesome name. I've always been really proud to say that I wrote Bunker Codes. So it bums me out, but like the name of the book was always supposed to be like BB. And in my head, whenever authors write books, they always have the name in their head. And I called it Bunker Buddies for a long time, but I knew there was no way in hell that name was going to do anything. That's just what I named it in my head. It also has nothing to do with Bunker Buddies, except the book is supposed to be like a bunker companion. But I couldn't call it Bunker Companion either, because that sounds like coming to your bunker and there being like some sexy off-grid chick waiting for you. And those of you that remember my old episodes, I used to have that AI gal, and she's like, "Welcome to the Bunker Code." So I can't do that voice now. My voice is getting dry from ranting and raving. So yeah, I basically asked the AI, the Grok, the Twitter Grok AI. I said, based on what this book's about, based on the reviews, what would be a better name for this? And it said Bunker Basics. And I really liked it. I really like it. Again, I don't know about like a prepper's first steps. I don't know about that. So I might workshop that a little bit more. But basically what I'm asking for y'all is in the future, when I get this thing going, this book means a lot to me. And the AI did say this fills a niche that nobody else has filled, and that's good. That is in perfect alignment with what I believe and what I've seen for the last 2 years. Nobody's filled this niche. There's a lot of other beginner stuff, but it's kind of all over the board, and the entry level, all of it is like diagrams and this and that and stuff, and it's just like they're good, but they're not this. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, I really feel like Bunker Codes should be a really big hit. I feel like I've actually got something here. I just I feel like if I update this name, that somehow it'll click to everybody. Bunker Basics. I like it. And basics kind of sounds like bunker base. So, welcome, I don't know, welcome to your bunker base. Welcome, bunker full of goodies. I don't know. So if you still listen this far through my rant, I would really appreciate the help on that. And I'm gonna do like a big reveal, which is, it's gonna be kind of silly, but for the new name, I'm gonna make a little video for it. That way, everybody understands I changed the name. And I think like having all these other prepper books now, I think has just really kind of enlightened me. The covers are really simple, and they just say exactly what they are. You know, tactical wisdom, defensive operations. United we stand, building your emergency prepper network. SHTF Tactical Drone Manual, a prepared citizen's guide for using drones for defensive purposes. This next one is just called Rural Home Defense. You know, Guerrilla's Guide to Baofeng Radio. You know, so like, I think that was kind of a big wake up call. Like, being clever doesn't work. Having a really cool name doesn't work for prepper books. And so, you know, Bunker Basics. Maybe it should just be Bunker Basics, finding a bunker full of stuff. You know, Bunker Basics. What to do with everything. You know, Bunker Basics. Finding what to do with all the goodies. Yeah, like, that sounds cool. Bunker Basics, what to do with all the goodies. You know, Bunker Basics, a base full of goodies. I don't know, something like that. Base full of Bunker Basics. What do I do with all this gear? I don't know. I want an update to coincide with it, but we'll see. Updating bunker codes is like super exhausting, even though I love that book to death. Anywho, I've rambled for a long time. I appreciate y'all. I get so self-conscious about prefacing all of this stuff. I'm not telling anyone to do anything crazy. You just have to have a defensive mindset and decide, you know, that your family is worth fighting for. Everybody comes to that a little bit different. But if you're a real man or a real mama bear, you got to realize that trying to get your kids back through the court process, you know, is going to break you financially, emotionally, and spiritually. And even if you do a GoFundMe for $1 billion, you're not going to do some big win that's going to somehow save everybody. Orange Man isn't going to put the lid back on this either. And there's just, what I'm saying is, there's going to be a lot of really hard decisions coming up. And you just have to decide if you're going to just give up. Do you want to give up? Do you want to have anything left? It could be cartels. It could be the mob. Mobs, not the mob. Hopefully it's not the mob. I mean, like mobs. It could be the cartels, it could be mobs. Whatever. Whatever your SHTF is. It could be sleeper cells. I don't know. I'm not pointing you in any direction of any certain people. Um, the cartels get child soldiers too. Um, some of these third world, ISIS caliphate lunatics, they'll go steal schools full of kids. There's other people that are attacking schools too. And so, you might be a teacher listening to this, and it might really be resonating with you. Like, there's so many teachers that would lay their lives on the line to defend their students, but they don't have the tools. Some cities and some states are waking up to that. If kids are the most important thing on the planet, then we should be doing everything to protect them. Period. So, I'm not saying to do anything crazy. I feel they make you feel like even saying anything just makes you crazy, or that you're inciting XYZ. They make you feel that way. They make you too scared to even want to talk. So, that's all I got. And it's late, and it's been a long day. And check out my shopping list down below for the books that I just mentioned. I highly recommend all of them. I talk to most of those authors almost on a daily basis. I don't think they really know or care about me, but I wouldn't be recommending them if I didn't actually start talking and getting to know all of them. They all seem really squared away. So this isn't one of those "it's the end of the world, buy my shit" things. Like, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think that there are some really, really hard choices that are coming up. So, yeah. Take care, y'all. And I hope this made sense. There's still time. So, the only way we make it through this is together. Bye-bye.
Breaking points. Our geographic neighbors with their criminals out of the joint. Breaking points. Round up the crusaders, it's time to anoint. Enemies at the gates, enemies at the house. If you don't act now, you won't be able to get them all out. Train up fast and get prepared. Call up your buddies and don't be scared. Things happen so fast, you won't have time. It's called being prepared, so you're ready to stop the crimes. It isn't a need until after it's too late. Get your shit together now, because the